Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Master Grade Full Armor Double Zeta Verka, a ridiculously long name for a ridiculously long build. This is an incredible kit without a single doubt, and the next step in the Master Grade Double Zeta Verka line, which started with that kit itself back in 2017. We got the enhanced version. That was a premium Bandai parts and color variant. We got the Master Grade Fats Verka in 2019, which is essentially the blueprint for this kit right here, just in grey. And of course, this is 2026's brand new Master Grade Double Zeta Verka. Now, this video right here was sponsored by HobbyLink Japan. I got my kit through them, link is down there in the description. And I guess it's time to get right on into the review. So when it does come to the build of the Master Grade Full Armor Zeta Verka, this is an absolutely grueling yet fantastic build right here. We've got a grand total of 42 runners, I'm not joking, 42 runners not including the beam sabers and the polycaps. This is one of those kits that you can build in two different forms, basically a variant of the enhanced Zeta, as well as the full armored finished version. I'm going to jump right on in with the unarmored version so we can check that out, and we'll armor it up a little bit later on. So because this kit right here is a kit based on a kit based on a kit, that does mean we do have a whole lot of leftover parts, which I will mention straight away. This right here is essentially a bunch of runners that still have tons and tons of parts, just little bits and pieces. For example, this would have been off the Fats, just not used in this kit. There's another runner right here. This is from the Double Zeta because it had slightly different arms compared to the Fats and the full armor right here. Same goes for these parts right here. These are the feet, which are a little bit longer in this particular kit compared to the standard Double Zeta. Same with these kind of wing binder sections. As for usable parts, we do have some missiles left over, as well as some of the gray sections for mounting them on. So there's definitely some parts you can harvest off here for your custom builds, including these kind of sub-verniers right here. So if you are a custom builder, there is a lot left over here that could be of use. One rarity we don't always see with Gundam model kits, but I love to see, we do have a spare V-fin in here, including the little tiny V-fin too, just in case you do break yours, just because of the way the runners were duplicated, and that included duplicating these parts, so that's handy. So anyway, there is the mighty and massive Double Zeta Verka. Well, the full armor version of the Double Zeta Verka, just without its full armor on yet. And just in case you don't know, this is not the same as the standard version of the Double Zeta Verka, which is this one right here. So there are a few differences between the two. This is more akin to the Master Grade Fats Verka, just in the kind of normal colors, but we'll have a little bit of a comparison straight away between the two. Now, first off, I will mention I do not have an enhanced Zeta Verka to compare at the moment, but I will mention this is not an enhanced Zeta Verka, even though it does have similar shoulders, similar feet. It has different aspects for mounting the armor on that would have been on the Fats Verka. So whether or not you can build a full enhanced Zeta Verka from what's on these runners, I have no idea. So if you know, let me know, and I'll pin it as the top comment. But yeah, between the two of these, the biggest obvious differences is the fact that a lot of the parts have been elongated. For example, the feet are much longer on the full armor Zeta Verka. Same goes with the big shoulder armor sections. We also have a lot more detail on the top of those particular binder segments. The shield binders on the back of the arms now feature a longer segment up top. And when it comes to some of the more subtle details between the two, we are missing the kind of silvered aspects, the nice painted silver details we would have seen on the standard Zeta Verka. Or should I say Double Zeta Verka. So we are missing the vortex generators on the chest there so the armor can pop onto it. The front skirtings have elongated sections towards the center there that point downwards. Also, the center crotch aspect no longer has a landing gear in there. That section on the full armor is for attaching on, well, the full armor. One kind of knockback effect from not having those silvered parts means that the barrel section in the center of the high mega cannon on the head there is only in gray on this particular kit, as opposed to that nice silver. But again, all that takes is a little bit of paint. A subtle difference, and that is that little section back there on the butt flap. That is for attaching on the huge cannon later on, so that's a difference. And one other fairly large difference is the missile pods back here are a whole damn sight larger on the full armor compared to this one right here. They don't have the same amount of missiles in them, and in my opinion, the missiles definitely looking somewhat better on this guy over here. Now, one thing I will mention about the Double Zeta Verka build, this one right here being the standard one, it hasn't aged the greatest. It's gotten a little bit loose, especially in the knees and the hips. So it does flop over a lot. It's also got a bit of a waist joint here that tends to flop on me a little bit. Parts like to pop off as well, and you know, it just doesn't hold up too much with a lot of vigorous moving around. Yeah. Now in the review of that particular kit, I would have put it through the ringer, I would have made it do every pose I possibly could, I did the full transformation, all of that sort of stuff. And this is a very, 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 very intricate kit, so lots of tiny little moving parts, so much going on that eventually they all just kind of like slightly, fractions of a millimeter pull apart from each other, and it does loosen up. So that's why in this video I'm not going to move this kit around too much, because I wanted to stay as rock solid as possible going forward. But yeah, back to the full armor right here without the armor. This is rock solid out of box. It does have a little bit of wiggle, but not nearly as loose as the other one got from, you know, moving around a lot. So I recommend not moving these particular kits around too much if you want them to stay as solid as possible. But anyway, when it does come to the aesthetics, blasting through it really quickly from the head down. When it comes to the head, the color separation is very, very nice. We got some gray inside the cheeks, recessed detail like the barrel of the Mega head launcher section coming right on through. Color separated eyes we do not have. The eyes on this are just stickers. The shoulders on here are very nice, color separation including the grey coming from underneath. You may notice a couple of nubs on there, I'll mention that later. We do have some grey vortex generators, again coming from underneath. Nice design in the arms as well, the paneling is broken up very, very nicely. Again, lots of grey coming from underneath to give it some nice exterior detailing. And the same goes for around back on the shield. Now I will mention I did panel line this kit a little bit because there's some beautiful pinstripe panel line details to line up, like you can see here on the shield. Again, grey coming through from underneath. Out of box, the backpack on this kit isn't really as impressive as it could be. Now this is a kind of issue with the kit quite a bit. The darker plastics nub up a little bit, but I'll mention that in a second. The chest on here featuring some nice detail as well, great color separation. The colors on this kit are super vivid, grey coming from underneath yet again. And I will mention we do have an opening cockpit as well that just clicks open, is kind of locked into position and opens up just like so. Inside that we do see into the cockpit of the core fighter, so it does have a nice clear canopy on top of some yellow framing, so it does look nice. We've got judo inside there. You can paint up that pilot figure to make it look absolutely perfect. Again, great color separation down on the waist unit. As you can see, there isn't too much in regards to kind of pan lining or greebling on the front skirtings, but we do have some nice color separated venting sections with multiple colors going on. The legs on the ZZ Gundam have always been a bit of a, well, event. There's so much going on, so many paneling sections, which are all part of the ridiculously intricate transformation. There's so many moving parts on here, lots of sticky, outy, very Zeta Gundam style over the top parts, and again we've got that nice grey layering coming from underneath, some panel lining opportunities, and I love the long feet. That's a killer look. So when it does come to the model kit sense, aka the mold lines, seam lines, and the nub marks, for the most part this kit is great. Just the nub marks are a little bit of an issue. So the blue and the navy blue plastic on this nub up quite a bit. I noticed a lot when I was snipping this out that you're just getting so many marks here and there. There are various mold lines too that are noticeable in some areas. They're not the worst, but no matter where you look you will find them, especially on the darker plastics. Now it is the nubs that were the worst, especially on the dark plastic. No matter how careful you try to be, if you're just using a nipper, you're going to get nubs on the blue as well as the navy blue. I do recommend using a glass file. I didn't actually in this particular build. I used them here and there, well, especially on the front because I didn't want too crazy nubs going on the front, but around back I didn't go too ham on it. I just kind of double snipped with the God Hand, but you're still going to get those little white stress marks. So filing away the nubs and the dark plastics here, highly recommended. But all those things always seem to look so much worse when you're actually building the kit than they do in the end, because most of them, well, that I saw while building, which was a lot of them, I can't really seem to find anymore, so that's a good thing. So jump now into a size comparison. As you can see, the ZZ is fairly big, and that is without the full armor on it just yet. To the left, we've got the Oryx 78 3.0 Master Grade. On the right, we've got the Master Grade Turn A Gundam. Popping in a couple of Verkas, there's the Narrative Gundam Verka, the Sinanju Stein Narrative Verka, and just a cool 1100 Zeta-esque looking kit, the Reborn 100 Lindworm. So now jumping on into the accessories, and the Master Grade Full Armor ZZ Verka comes with a whole lot inside of the box. All of the armor to build up that Full Armor ZZ, as well as some weaponry included. The same exact big massive cannon we would have seen with the Fats Verka, as well as the standard ZZ Gundam's double beam rifle. Once you have it all laid out, it's incredible just how much stuff comes in here. We've got a spare core fighter included for the transformations, and we do have a 1/100 scale figure of Judo included too. Lastly, we do have swappable fingers in here. I'm not going to say much about them in this review besides they're absolutely abysmal, they're terrible, not good at all. But I guess it's time to get this thing finally full armored. So finally getting this into the full armor mode, and in order to armor it up, you start off with the chest. You pull the shoulders outwards just like so, which gives you a little bit more space for this new bit of chest armor to slot in just like so. Moving on to arming up the arms, you have to remove those big binder shields. It is a bit sad to lose such a classic double Zeta aspect, but they are a little bit annoying, so it's kind of cool that they're gone. You clamp a bit of blue armor onto both sides of the arms. This works perfectly. Some red sections attach on as well, everything's seamless. Easy to do, and then you attach a bit onto the back. This goes for the other arm as well. 2 side bits of armor, 2 bits of red elbow armor, followed by a section round back. This time the section round back is a launcher, on the other side it was not. Next up is the shoulder armor, and this attaches on super simply. It just slides on and attaches peg into a hole so it grips on perfectly. You did this on both sides, and we're already getting a lot of nice new mass on the double Zeta. And speaking of mass, we're moving on down to the legs. First off, you attach on a giant side panel with a bit of blue just like so, attach a white side panel onto the inner side of the leg, and you lock them both together with a front section of white shin armor. Once again, you do this on both sides, and it's starting to add an incredible amount of mass to this master grade beast. Next up, it's time to add on Double Zeta's sexy new underwear, and in order to do this, you need to drop down the backpack like so. We've got a couple of waist attaching armor sections like this, and then you just attach that pair of underwear on just like that onto the front, and it locks into the back with these 2 clipping sections. Last up then, we've got some side skirting armor. Once again, super simple to do. It just clips onto the existing side skirt just like so, and that attaches onto both sides, looking absolutely beautiful. And there we go. There is the Double Zeta Gundam finally full armored up, adding some incredible mass. There's a little bit of a side-by-side comparison of what it looked like before and what it looks like after. This looks incredibly different and incredibly awesome. So while the full armor Double Zeta is in this mode, it's got some nice new aspects to it and some extra additional onboard armaments. First off, I will mention we do have some beam sabers in here, should I say hyper beam sabers in here. You just pop them off the back just like so, and you attach in the beam. These are pretty much this size of a pair of chopsticks, and there is a master grade Gundam for comparison, the Oryx 78 3.0, just to show how big they are. But anyway, back to it being full armored. As for those onboard armaments, the first is some chest missiles. You just open up the chest section just like so, some simple doors with hinges on them open like this, and we've got a whole roster of missiles inside. The color separation here is incredible. The tiny color separated red missiles look great against the mechanical gray sections inside, and this is super impressive. This isn't the only onboard kind of missile armaments. We also have some on the rear of this arm right here. You just open this little segment like so, and we've got 3 inside there again, fully color separated. Also, there is another cool gimmick I just saw there in the manual. We've got a little bit of a thruster down here, and if you actually push this down, it raises up the armor right there in the front, so apparently you can get more leg articulation out of it. So once again, that is it all the way out, and then you just bring this forward to bring it back in again. I will also mention we do have this little segment right here. This is a blue bit of armor, and what this is actually for is this is an optional part of the build in order to change the cockpit section to blue. There are 2 color variants of this particular Double Zeta full armor, and that is basically the classic one where it's white, just like we're seeing right here with this kit, and then the other version, the Katoki version I think it is blue. So you're able to just pull this section out. Let's actually see how easy it is to swap out. So just pulling out the arms, removing the chest segment just like so. This bit of armor isn't too crazily held in, so you can just pop it off like that. You will have to actually remove blue sections and attach them onto this in order to use them, but it is a fairly simple swap. I personally prefer the classic look. I like that white running up the torso, but it is cool that we do have the choice inside of the box without the need for paint. So this really is one of those kits that is just jam-packed with choices, and that includes the weapons as well. We do have the classic double beam rifle back here which you can use, or that absolutely massive cannon just like we would have seen with the FATs. Now I might forget to mention it later on, but I do not have my FATs handy. It is not that far away, so I can get it if needed. So if you do want to see a full comparison between this kit right here and the FATs as well as the Double Zeta Gundam, then like the video. If I get 5,000 likes, I'll make sure to do that. And speaking of which, many moons ago, I did say the exact same thing about the Tall Geese 2. I don't remember if it was the real grade or the master grade. I haven't gotten around to doing that just yet because those kits were so prohibitively expensive for so long. Thankfully, they seem to have dropped in price recently, so I will get around to doing that sometime soon. And also, speaking of the cost of Gunpla, if you do want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon, and the link is down there in the description. You get videos at least 12 hours earlier than YouTube with no ads. But anyway, onto those weapons. So first up in here we do have the ZZ's double beam rifle. Now you can see this does have a cockpit right here. This is used in the transformation of the standard ZZ Gundam. Now the full armor ZZ Gundam does not transform per se, but from what I can see with this kit, and from what I tried before with the FATs, what this kit is pretty much 99% based on, it can be transformed if you want to do so. Probably not with the armor on though. In order to attach this on, it is fairly simply just move this little section on the inside in, open this little canopy section, pop on in this little adapter bit, and then close it on up. Flip out the sight section on top like so. And I will mention this does have a handle which flips out like so. This can be held in the hand. This is the way the standard double Zeta holds onto it, not this kit, which is good because the hands on this kit aren't great. This actually slides down into an attachment on the back of the arm like so for a hands-free attachment, which I love. I guess kind of keeping in line with what we've seen with the master grade FATs before, this doesn't really move too much, so once you do have this weapon attached, it can't really get into a very nice pose while aiming with it. It can be kind of with the main body of the weapon underneath, like so, or you can flip it around like this. Either way, it does look a little bit on the awkward side, and it's kind of a kit that only really looks good just standing there. It's a little hard to get it into anything too flashy looking dynamically. So finally, when it does come to attaching on that hyper mega cannon, you flip it around to the back like so. These two sections, like we saw earlier on, these are missile pods. You open them up like this, there's missiles inside. You take the one on the right, you lift it up like so, then you angle it towards the back, which is towards you if it's pointing at you, and then you pull it out like so. You now do the opposite with the hyper mega cannon. You attach it in at an angle, bring it forward, and then slide it, locking it in like so. You have to adapt the shoulder a little bit for this because the armor is a little bit in the way, so you remove that full armor shoulder section, remove this red vent or thruster segment, and then attach it back on. Simple to do. Next up, you need to attach on the ammo belt segment. Now this thing is an absolute nightmare to build because you have 48, well no, you've got 24 of these little segments, all of which are 2 nubs each, so you have 48 nubs to clean up on these things. This takes quite some time. Plugs in one end, flips around and plugs on into the butt round back, and that right there is what it looks like. Now to get it into the hand, you disconnect the backpack entirely, bring up the cannon arm section around back, bring the cannon forward using its little bit of articulation, flip out the handle and the guard segment from below, and then you have to use this kit's somewhat awkward articulation to get this into the hand. Thankfully, it is lined up to just fit right with a straight stretched out arm. So once you actually get that done, it does look like this right here, and it does work out decently well. Massive cannon, massive Gundam, it does look ridiculous in the best possible way. So anyway, there we go. There is what it looks like finally with the big cannon attached. So this is essentially this kit's final form. This is everything from the box added on. We took it from the standard-ish looking double Zeta with the kind of enhanced Zeta looking aspects to it, popped on all of the armor, tried out one weapon, now we've tried out this one, and this is a kit with so many options in here. Technically, there are 3 builds. Again, the double Zeta, the full armor, and then the full armor with the hyper mega cannon. There's a whole lot going on inside here. So now jumping on into the articulation, and because I don't want to move this too much because the double Zeta tends to loosen up over time, I'm just going to be doing, well, the usual pose when it's unarmored and then when it's armored. So here we go. So when it comes to the articulation on the full armor double Zeta Verka here without the full armor, just like we would have seen with the standard master grade double Zeta Verka, this is a kit that doesn't really like to be posed too much. This is one that likes to stand there static and look cool. When you start to actually take it out of a standing pose, you can already feel it start to weaken. The hips and the knees are not great. It starts to kind of get over encumbered with its own weight, and a lot of parts tend to clash off each other. Some joints don't take too much to actually move them, some are a little bit stiff, so they fight against each other. Overall, this is what we get from the pose. It's not too bad. I wouldn't, again, pose it a lot. I would choose the pose that you want out of this kit and leave it in it. It's not a kit for posing over and over and over again, and not the great poser overall. Again, great articulation, great moving gimmicks, but not for posing a lot. So now jumping on to part 2 of, well, checking out its articulation. Now that it is armored up, it's a whole different story, but in a way, not entirely. So let's try the usual pose. Alright, so not forgetting about that crotch gimmick that moves the armor in the front a little bit, and then trying to get into a pose, you can automatically see that it's definitely a lot more limited. The main limitations are at the hips to some degree, as well as the fact that there does no longer seem to be a rotation at the waist anymore, so it is kind of locked in there. It makes sense. It has to support a very heavy weapon, so it makes sense that it won't move too much. So yeah, overall, this right here is what you get in the end when it comes to the pose. So again, not too bad considering the amount of stuff thrown onto it. I assume the full armor here is for protection only, not for mobility, so it does make sense that it's not going to be pulling off too many crazy yoga-esque poses. Otherwise, not too bad, and considering just how many moving parts are actually in here, just using this to show what it can do and how it can move and the articulation is kind of, you know, a little bit silly at this point. A lot of things move, but you don't get a whole lot out of it. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the Master Grade Full Armor ZZ Gundam Verkhan. Just like its name, this thing is quite incredible. It's a fantastic kit through and through, but I will mention it is Platinum tier. What do you mean it's Platinum tier? This is not Platinum tier. You're saying it's Silver tier? No way, not a chance. So you might be wondering what I'm arguing with myself about right here, and the answer to that is there is no simple single tier or ranking you can give this kit because it is so unique. So I decided to break this up into two schools of thought. School of thought number one is builders who are pilots. School of thought the second is builders who are engineers. And what I mean by that is a pilot is a kind of builder who likes a kit that is ready to go out of box. Dynamically poses is rock solid. You can get it into tons and tons of poses, it will never fall apart, and it just looks great out of box with next to no effort whatsoever. A good poser, lots of accessories, a lot of dynamic fun. When I'm talking about an engineer, what I mean by that is someone who doesn't care if the kit moves at all. They like the greebles, they like the moving aspects, they like the little hatches, they like the minutia, they like the little individual details, they like being able to take parts off their Gundam, put it back on again, have it in multiple different forms, but they don't really care too much about how solid it is or what sort of poses it can pull off. That's what I mean by the engineer. So I'm going to be ranking this kit right now for both. First off, if you're a pilot, you like your kits dynamic, you like your kits being fantastic posers that just look goddamn beautiful, well then this kit would be Silver tier. Aesthetically this is very nice for the most part. You have multiple different kind of forms you can have it in, and all of which look great. But if you do actually take a look at what this kit is meant to look like, you'll notice that it is missing a lot of colors. Well, not really a lot, but a few colors when it does come to the inner sections of the vents. When you don't have a panel lined up, it can look a little bit on the plain side, especially with the full armor on there, and there is a lot of annoying little aspects like it does nub up a lot, and there is a lot of mold lines, all of which will need to be dealt with. When it comes to the articulation on this, it's essentially a brick. Without the armor on, it can pose up a little bit, but it's too fiddly and kind of weak to hold itself up. Things clash with each other and it doesn't really work out. When it comes to the accessories, there's a whole lot of stuff in here, but it's only for changing the form. Once it's in either or form, there isn't really much in regards to options. Finally then, when it comes to the build, this thing is fiddly as all fuck. I mean, like, it really is. It doesn't take long to loosen up, there's a whole transformation inside of it as well as all the attachment points and all that sort of stuff, so it isn't really that rock solid kit. It will loosen up, it will start getting saggy very, very quickly. The hands barely even hold on. So if you're into kits that are dynamic, good for posing, almost figure-like when it comes to their finished completedness, this is not that. Now as for the engineers out there, this kit right here is 1 point off Gundarium tier. If you love kits with so many options, so many moving parts, but it's almost like a statue but a beautiful one up on your shelf, then this is the one for you. Aesthetically, this is beautiful. The same sort of issues apply here. There does need to be some paint inside some of the vents where there is some red missing. It'll need to be panel lined up. There are decals included, so if you're going to go through all of that sort of stuff, this will look phenomenal. It looks a little bit plain without the decals, but you get those on, it will look like a beautiful Verkhan through and through. When it comes to the articulation on here, now when I'm talking about you engineer builders out there, I mean the tiny little opening panels. The fact that this has a full transformation, tons of sliding, locking, minute gimmicks that are very, very tiny and ridiculously impressive. It's got so many moving elements to its various different transformations into the two separate aspects that can then attach into one even bigger flyer. The whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. So many moving parts, the options of taking on and off the armor, it is the engineer's dream. Accessories wise, I gave this 5 out of 5 if you're thinking of it from that perspective. You can have this kit as the standard, well, an almost enhanced looking version of the Double Zeta. You can attach on all of the armor, you have a choice of different weaponry from the double beam rifle to the huge shoulder cannon. There's so much changing, moving, disassembling, reassembling of parts in here. It is incredible. Finally, when it comes to the build, from an engineer's perspective, it may not be all that solid out of box. I'm sure you're going to tighten anything you want up yourself, but if you are very careful with it, keep in mind all the little things that can unlock, like the transformation. It will always treat you well if you treat it well back. It's just not going to do any dynamic poses, but it will stand there looking regal up on your shelf. So again, depending on your school of thought when it does come to Gunpla, this is either silver tier or platinum tier coming on Gundarium tier. And that sort of split ranking in and of itself just shows how cool this is. I'm gonna stop rambling right now. It's an awesome kit. I love it. I'm gonna keep mine in the full armor mode without the cannon so it doesn't really clash too much with the fats, so it can fit in between the double Zeta and the fats, and I love it. Now I want an enhanced Zeta. Anyway, I got mine from Hobby Link Japan, link in the description. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, all of this would not be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and at the end of this video I have to give special thanks to those who support me on the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including Christopher Hamsey, Dismas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, Orgy59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, Van Fawn, and Stephen Collier.